guys, welcome back to the Daily Dreamer. Thanks so much for coming and hanging out with me for a dream or two. How are you guys enjoying yourselves in these lockdowns that we're having? I hope all of you guys are being safe. I hope you guys are all enjoying your time at home, rebonding back with your families, taking a moment. Maybe instead of cleaning out your cupboards, maybe you can just take 5 minutes and clean out what's going on in here. Seems like the perfect time to do so. I don't know. What do you think? Anyways, I don't know about you guys, but I've been having these dreams. They've been off the hook. I'll tell you, this one dream that I had kept popping up. And when I actually sat and meditated on it, I thought it was kind of important to share with you guys. So let's get to it, shall we? All right. So I wake up, come to, and I am sitting in a chair. And the background doesn't even matter. It's kind of bright. But there's a TV in front of me. And what is playing is something that I'm not really paying attention to, but I kind of am. And it seems like it might be the news because it was of urgency. And so as I'm watching this, then all of a sudden, someone who I knew many moons ago that I had the utmost trust in appears. And I haven't seen this person in a very long time. So I was kind of curious as to why they showed up in the dream. But nonetheless, there they were. And they took my TV and they just kind of moved, pushed it, and it kind of went somewhere. And I was just like, what are you doing? Let alone, why are you in my dream? I haven't thought about you in years. Nonetheless, this person had a sword, a huge sword. And she walked and she stood in front of me and she brought out a crystal of mine, one of my favorite crystals. And it's a nice sized chunk. And she took her sword and she literally sliced this crystal in half. Well, I was truly disappointed. I was so disappointed. I just couldn't believe that this person did this. But I can in a way because many moons ago I trusted this person and then they did something that was not so cool. And so it didn't surprise me that here in this realm they were doing the same thing. They took my trust and they took something that I valued very much so and just wiped it in half, and it kind of made sense. However, I was so frustrated and so disappointed over it that I kind of stood up, and I remember looking at her, and I saw the sun or the light that was shining behind her. And so I took the half of the crystal that was still there, and I moved it just a fraction, just moved it. And when I moved it, the reflection from the sun or the light source that was coming from behind her came through the crystal and made this rainbow, like this prism, this rainbow, and it aimed right back at her. And when I looked up at her, it was as though she was not there. Like the rainbow literally took her out of my view, took her from even being there, which was great because I was like, good, she's gone. But in a way, not so great because now my crystal was sliced in half. And so what happens at that point? I don't know. I was just back to consciousness. So what a dream. And it was a dream that just kept popping up for me. And so I sat and I meditated on it. And I tell you, I think I understand that dream. So I don't know, come along with me and we'll find out about it, shall we? So what came up for me on this one? Well, I tell you, lots. What really came up was how easy it was for someone to control my feelings in that dream. I was extremely disappointed, rather somewhat angry. And I don't know if it was because of what she had chosen to do with the crystal, which was slice it in half, or the fact that I was already feeling that way because of what I was watching on TV. And it's interesting, and it got me thinking too, how easy it can be to manipulate one's mind, or at least control thoughts and get people's feelings all up, to where others outside of you can control your feelings. Let me give you an example. Carl Jung, who I always refer to, He said that it was man's task to become conscious of all of the contents that are pressed upwards from the unconscious. He also stated that it's always the masses that are always the breeding grounds for psychic epidemics, and it couldn't be more true. I mean, as individuals, as much as we don't know about what is going on, like with this virus, we are all still collectively together in this. And so we are all collectively as a psyche together in the know of this virus, but yet we still don't know, do we? But we came together as a collective psyche, and guess what? We have an epidemic on our hands, whether it be just a psychic mental epidemic to get us all fearful, or whether it is a physical one. As much as we don't know, we think we know, and who knows what it could really be. Could it be a physical? Could it be a psychic one? Don't know. But let me tell you how easy it is to manipulate or control one's mind. Okay? Let's try a little experiment. Okay, say for example, I ask you to go ahead and close your eyes, and I want you to think of nighttime. I want you to envision that it is nighttime, and I want you to see from afar as though you're standing, like on the edge of the island, and you're seeing the water and you're seeing the Statue of Liberty. Now imagine feeling some raindrops piercing down on your skin. They're cold, they feel like these small serrated knives hitting your skin because they're just that cold. But off in the distance, as you look at the Statue of Liberty, you can see the thunder or the lightning. You can hear the roaring of the thunder. Can you imagine that right now? Can you imagine? Now, what if that lightning bolt were to hit the Statue of Liberty? Can you see a lightning bolt hitting the Statue of Liberty? Yes, you can. Okay. Now, I want you to stop thinking about it. Go ahead. Can't do it? Okay, try a little bit harder. Still can't do it? Well, you want to know why? It's because right now I'm controlling your mind. I put that image in your head, asked you to think about it, and you did. It's just that easy. And if you don't think that for a moment someone can control one person, 10 people, 100 people, 1,000 people, 1,000,000 people with an image, you might be wrong on that. Say I went ahead and I took that same little experiment that we did and I put it out there and I did it to a global audience as though I was doing it to 1 or 2 billion people. Now imagine instead of me telling you to envision something like the Statue of Liberty, imagine I were to get you to think of something a little bit more powerful. Say the World Trade Centers imploding on each other. How about maybe Osama bin Laden getting shot? Or maybe, just maybe, put an image out there on TV for you guys to see Prince William's wedding, because, after all, he's going to be the future king of England, right? Imagine that just for a moment. What kind of effect do you think that makes on mankind when hundreds of millions and even billions of people all hear and see exactly the same thing at exactly the same time all over the world, right? Well, we might be opening Pandora's box here, but I say we just go ahead and do it. See, we are tapping into the deep recesses of the collective psyche. When we show images like that, and it's all shown all over the world to everybody at the same time, we are all collectively seeing and witnessing the same thing. Well, it's really hard to deny truth at that point when it's shown over and over and we've all witnessed it, correct? We see one thing, but do we really see it for what it is? There are signs everywhere, folks, that is revealed to us. Signs that we can see if we are aware. Okay, it's so easily done to control the masses, if you will, all through just images, all through, these epidemics that we don't know about. Okay, it's just really just simple as that. Instead of maybe tuning into your news, okay, for your daily dose of reality, maybe we should do something a little different. Say we were on an alternate timeline where everything is opposite of what it really is. Say, for instance, in this realm, we go ahead and we turn on the news so that we can see what's going on in the world, reality. And say in the other realm, maybe they use news media as entertainment. And maybe in that other realm, shows and movies and whatnot, those documentaries, maybe those are considered news in that realm, whereas in this realm, they're entertainment. Let's humor this just for a moment, okay? If we know how to read in between the lines, who's to say we have not jumped an alternate timeline? And now the news media is being used for entertainment, and maybe all those shows and those movies are being used for actual information, communication, okay? Why not try and entertain that thought just for a moment? Because I tell you, at the end of this experiment, you should probably go back and rewatch all your movies again, and maybe you'll learn something. I don't know. See, we have been entertained over and over by the very thing that others may use for communication. And I think it's about time that we wake up to that. So let's entertain that alternate timeline just for a moment, shall we? To a normal outsider, we sit, we turn on, we watch TV. Some of us just want to unwind from the day. So we turn on maybe a 30-minute comedy, right? And just so that we can escape from reality. And we sit there and we laugh at the jokes and we see what the content is, but we don't really pay attention because we're using it to unwind. What if we did it to get information? And that is probably even more probable now than before. We can get our information through these 30-minute shows and these movies. Let me go ahead and take that a little bit further for you. For example, The Simpsons. All right. How many times did it predict the future? A lot. It's pretty odd, right? Well, is it a prediction? Or are they pre-planned events that are going to take place in the future? Is it a form of someone communicating this is what the plan is? I don't know. Is it a show to be entertained by? Or is it a show that communicates to others? Is it something that's going to be taking place so as to manipulate events and mankind and therefore history? When they say to question everything, they mean question everything. Even simple 30-minute shows designed to make us laugh. Did they predict the World Trade Towers collapsing? Or was it a message? Was it a message that just merely stated that it was going accordingly to plan? But we all sit there with our popcorn and we sit there and laugh at the jokes that it presents, on these events. And then when it happens, we're kind of in shock. Take, for example, the movie The Matrix. The date on his passport just happens to be 901 or 91101. Coincidence? Maybe not so much, guys. To understand what is going on, it seems like that you have to have an understanding as though you're flying from country to country, right? You have to understand and properly interpret all of the different signs that are around, the warnings, the notices, telling you when to exit, when to step on, when to brake, when to gas. What are the one-way streets? Which way do you even go in this new country, right? And it just depends. It depends on where you go. Even time is different. Did you gain 3 hours ahead of time? Are you living in the future? Or did you just go back in time according to the time zones on the map? Even that is interesting in itself. But in other words, basically what it is that we have to have an understanding of these new signs when we travel, if you will. Maybe that's the way it is for communication now. In other words, we have to have proper maps to prepare us for these things. This same goes for the news nowadays, because none of us are really in the know, are we? Even though collectively we're all together. We need to have a new GPS, if you will, to find our way around the media now so that we are better attuned to the messages that lie hidden in everyday communication to those that are in the know. So instead of maybe looking at news as your reality, take a second look at all those movies that you've watched. All right, maybe now go back and see them with new, opened eyes. You know, for years now, it has been drilled into our heads, the collective psyche, all of us, that we are simply facing the impending end of the world doom. We have all been fearful of that. I mean, through movies, through entertainment, through news, you know, it's been drilled into our brains that we have to accept the end of the world. All of this madness. Why? Why would we always have to be fearful of the end of the world, impending doom? Maybe there's some goals out there that some alternate forces, you know, have an agenda to. Well, let's hear some of those goals that might be out there for one to always want us to feel like, as a collective psyche, we are all doomed. One, maybe it's to make us feel completely helpless. I mean, what can we do if an asteroid were to hit the Earth? Right? All right. Two, maybe it's just to instill something powerful as far as like something big is going to happen. You know, an expectation of sudden change. Because who likes to change? Right? None of us do. None of us like to change. So maybe it's just to keep us on our toes. Maybe it's there to remind us that there's always a hidden enemy out there. I mean, we are always fearful of something, a really, really big, nasty, you know, hidden enemy out there that's maybe hell-bent on our destruction. You know, these goals of keeping us as a collective psyche in this fear mode. Well, folks, if we are not aware of these fears that are implanted here, then we can't deal with it out there. You see how easy we can be manipulated? Our minds can be easily managed if we're not strong enough in here to overcome the fear. I mean, maybe that way we feel, you know, with this fear in us that we always need some really big, powerful, even if it's some harsh protector in place to keep us safe from these impending dooms that are supposedly supposed to happen. As a collective psyche, we can be easily managed that way. Guess why? Because it's used to take advantage of us. It's always about leverage, is it not? An enemy not be, what is it? The enemy not need be real. It just needs to be perceived by a majority of the people. I mean, credibility on someone else's word because, well, we respect them is what's really going on, not reality. That we just need to perceive that there's an enemy. But it's got to be out there because they said so. We're so easily manipulated. Once the people believe an enemy exists, well, the rest, that's just a piece of cake, guys. You know, because at that point, now we're willingly letting our children go off to fight this hidden enemy. You know, well, how do you even control something like that? How would you even begin to take back control? I'll tell you how. You take control of this right here. You learn to know what is going on in here. Because if you can face those demons in here, they're not going to be able to put any more demons in you, you know, as far as that goes. Let's talk about their Achilles heel, folks. Let's talk about this one. What is that? Well, it's that they need you to be a willing accomplice to their scheme, to their goals, to their leverage. They need you to be passive, but you got to do it by your own free will. And how is that done? Okay, they need to buy your acceptance to this. It's got to be of your own free will. They need you to basically sell your soul to them. Well, how do they get you to sell your soul to them and allow them to get away with this? because of your complacency. It's done through the shows. It's done through the movies. I mean, go back and rewatch these movies. Watch those Simpsons. You know, you knew about the trade tower centers blowing up. They told you ahead of time. And you did nothing about it. So therefore, your complacency allowed them to use that to their advantage. And that's what they did. See, apparently there is this huge cosmic law that even the powers of darkness, the forces that are evil, they have to obey. And even the devil himself cannot override this. And it says that his victims have to serve them of their own free will. That is exactly what he is doing. He is getting you to serve him of your own free will. Because through humor and entertainment, well, you chose to do nothing. You had a choice, right? You just got to learn to navigate your way through his country. That's all. All right, guys. So how do they do this again? Through the media. Through our passive acceptance of watching shows and movies that tell it to our faces like it is. Like The Simpsons. For example, hold on. In the movie Devil's Advocate, great movie, Keanu Reeves, he plays a role in it where he joins a New York law firm, and he has a client that happens to be De Niro, and he plays the devil himself. Well, Reeves, his wife, catches on. She tries to let him know ahead of time, but she ends up collapsing and mentally, physically, and ends up committing suicide, supposedly, right? Okay, so, but De Niro in the movie tells Keanu, take a break from this case, take time for your wife, she needs you, she's sick. To which at that point, Keanu sits there and he thinks about it, and then he says, no, I'll continue with the case. And then at that point, De Niro, and he stands up and he says, well, do as you wish, do as you like. Well, at the very end, when De Niro reveals himself as the devil, he reminds Reeves that he was given a choice, but he chose the company and the case over his wife. It was of his own free will. And that is exactly what they're doing to us, right? So now start going back and watching those movies again. Imagine, say, for example, this. On a sunny day, I come up to you and a bunch of friends at a bar. We're all sitting outside, and I tell you this story that we're in a graveyard, and I saw a ghost. In fact, I saw 3. And you guys sit there and you're laughing at me, right? You could not fathom or even imagine such a preposterous image because we're sitting at a bar outside in the sun enjoying a beer, and you can't imagine me seeing a ghost. Now, say, for example, the very next night, you and I go out to the cemetery. We get there, it's nighttime. It's quiet. We're walking around, and I start talking about these ghosts, right? Now you're not so quick to laugh me off, are you? Why? Because even though your eyes cannot see, your mind's eye certainly can conjure up all of those horrible images that we're all afraid of that might be there, right? Worse yet, how about this one? Now your other senses are hypersensitized. Now you're hearing things. What was that rustling? Was it a whisper? Wait a minute. I just saw a shadow. What was that? Not so quick to laugh me off at that point, right? Why? At this point, most people would start going into full panic mode. And why is that? Because when it's dark and it's silent, our senses offer very little protection against the mental projections that we're thinking up. Nothing can help us, okay? Because it's all coming up. Well, guess what? That is when you start having those doubts about what really may be out there versus what really is out there. Because you start thinking, the monkey mind, all right? And guess what? Now you're seeing those shadows, and it's those shadows out there that is your deepest recesses of your psyche. And if we are not in control of that, then we are going to be easily manipulated, definitely right here. So we got to start taking control. So instead of taking time in quarantine to clean out some cupboards, maybe we ought to all just be sitting there cleaning out what's going on in here, because that's going to make us stronger. And as a collective psyche, if we're stronger, guess what? We're helping each other, because now we're all becoming healthy. Even in your diets, come on guys, lots of vitamin C. That's what's going to take care of this virus. Lots of vitamin C, lots of laughing, all right? You don't want to go ahead and be passive about this. You do not want to, give up your mind to them. No, you've come a long way. The rules of the game are always there for everybody to see. We just got to know where to find it. So you don't want to deliver up your soul and your mind to these people. You have come too far. Don't be a passive collaborator, okay? Because doing nothing is exactly what they want you to do. They want you to be complacent about it. Go back and rewatch all your favorite movies. I'm telling you, the messages are there. We were told everything from the get-go, okay? But we just weren't awake. But we are now. Anyways, all right. Don't cave in. Don't just accept that something, just because you saw it on the news, is what it is and that it must be true. No, go back, question everything. Use the news as comedy. Use the movies now as reality. Go back, rewatch all your favorite movies, because the truth was right there in front of you the whole time. If you can tune into yourself and what you're about, well, the only thing that gives you, that's the only thing that's going to give you more ammo to be able to take care of what's going on out there. And no longer will you be ruled by fear. No longer will you be a willing participant to any mind manipulations, because you know what's going on in here. You know what's up. You are now awakening to see their code, to see their communication. So guys, take charge of yourself, and you'll finally be able to take charge back of what's in your life. All right? Till next stream, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in, and many blessings to you.